pineapple under the pineapple under the pineapple under the.
Good morning and welcome to my Fracture KO guide. I'll basically be showing you my lineups and the plays I normally do, and I'll be starting off on defense, moving towards attack, and I'll show you from side to side. So, hope you enjoy. So before we get started, I want to explain a few things about KO, especially the flash, because it's the most useful piece of utility you can have. It can basically shift the whole around in your favor. It basically, if you're standing still, it flies 25 meters. So basically that's about it. If you're running forward, it goes 35 meters. And if you're running backwards, it goes about 50 meters. You're gonna learn a lot, you're gonna develop a feeling for this as you go and as you play a lot of games with him. But you have, I use this cheeky trick if you wanna keep it in mind. It's very useful, at least for me. I still use it to this day, even though I have over 1,000 KO games. So for example, you ping this edge where you want to flash, and if it says 25 meters, you're on about the perfect distance to throw your flash. So basically you just aim a little higher, and this one's gonna go right around the corner, right? So for example, you want to toss it at the wall, just to see how far it goes. This is about it, and it's gonna pop right as it hits the wall. So basically, if you want to practice, I don't know, for example, you do 15 meters, you run backwards, it pops right as it bounces on it. So that's basically how the flashes work, just to give you a rough idea. I don't know, for example, your teammates want a flash here, you just run forward a little and throw it. You don't need to be full sprinting or fully running back. Basically, as you start running back, it's already slowed down. So yeah, the way the flash works is basically 15 meters backwards, 25 standing still, and 35 running forward. So keep that in mind, use the pings, don't be ashamed to do it, don't be afraid to do it. I am basically one of the best KOs in the world, and I still use these tricks. So yeah, it's better to use the ping and basically get a perfect pop flash rather than miss it by a meter or even half a meter, and basically flash your teammates or risk not flashing the enemy. So if you want to wing that kind of stuff, it's a lot easier if you just ping and then you throw. So keep that in mind. So to start things off, I have this lovely knife lineup. So you basically line up the area like this, and you aim the bottom of your HUD just about here. This is gonna land on a main. It's also gonna be very hard to break, and it basically gives all the early information to the entire team. And I usually start off the game by using these lineups a couple of times until they start avoiding it, and it's pretty useful. So you basically go here, you toss it like this, and that's basically the whole magic. There's another version of this, but it's a lot slower. You just basically stand here and toss it like this. So the way I line it up is I go, this corner goes towards this edge, and this edge of the grenade lines up with this. So you basically line them both up, and this lands on A main, but it's a little slower. So basically if the teams are playing slower or you use another utility on A main, this one is going to be a good option for you as well. So this is about the knives that I use from B side towards A. You can also use B main knife. So basically line up here again. You just aim a little below this box here so that you aim towards the sky here. And this one's gonna land in B main, also gives early information, hard to break. And this is basically all the knives I use. I also have a very cool setup to push B main. So basically the grenade is gonna land in the corner here, and after that you toss a flash, you just gotta toss it like this. And it both lands simultaneously, so people are blind, they're in the corner, they're getting damaged by the nade. And your teammates can also push with this because the flash basically pops perfectly. But you have to communicate to your teammates that basically they shouldn't be pushing until the flash pops. So once the flash pops, they swing with it, and the people in the corner are gonna be forced to swing while blind, or they just die to a grenade. So that's my B main setup. Moving on from B main, I also want to say that I love to play tower. This is one of my favorite places to be, especially in pistol round. I usually play full utility. I recommend to do the same as KO, because the utility is super valuable. But if you hear people coming up the rope, all you have to do is throw a grenade here and pop right clicks with your pistol. So that's basically 3 kills, because the nade does about 50 to 60 damage as they come up. Because since the change, the damage on the rope is also here, because you don't need line of sight anymore. So if people just come up the rope, you just pop right clicks, you're basically gonna one-shot everyone, you don't even need the headshots. So that's my favorite way to play on tower, especially on pistol rounds, but you can also do this on gun rounds. You just toss the nade, for example, if they stun you, dash on you, you can still play far back and have some cover as well. So the lineup I have here is basically just a flash. You can line up here at the beginning of the round, and you just go into the corner and you take the knife, you toss it up here. And this is basically the perfect pop flash for B main arcade for your teammates to push with. So this is basically it for the B side. You can also line up a pop flash here. You go to the entrance barrier that's at the beginning of the round, and you take this point of the knife and you put it in the corner here. If you toss it above, it's gonna be a good pop flash just for yourself or even for your teammate if you want to swing together. But I prefer doing the version with the grenade as well that I mentioned earlier, when you just do this, and this is basically the two options you have to push B main. On arcade, yeah, we basically discussed the flash, and let's move on to A side. So for A main, I really like this one, but you have to explain to your teammates that they have to play anti-flash, because it gets them as well. So basically, he just goes through the door, and it gets anybody involved. You can step a little further back as well, if you like it that way. Like, you can, for example, go to this line here, and aim at this edge. This would be a more perfect flash, but both are pretty undodgeable. And once the flash pops, you just tell your teammates to swing on it, and they're gonna get some easy frags. You can also use the same knife at the wall here, or you can toss it up here. It doesn't really make a big difference. It's a little deeper, the second one, but that's basically the knife here. You don't really need any special lineups. And you also have a pop flash for this, if you just line up this arrow here onto the dot here. This is basically all of my defensive setups. This one is for this, the other one's for A main. I already explained the B ones. And I have some retake utility as well, that might be a little interesting, but be careful with this one because you're hella exposed to your enemies here. So basically you just line up here, so with the two lines crossing, you take the grenade and you aim it here. Exactly here. I don't have a special lineup, it's just a bit left of the cable, and you just throw it. So this one is basically gonna land on top side, and it's gonna get both top side and default, which is basically the whole position they can be in. What I also like to do after I throw that grenade, wait for it to land. So basically you do this, you throw the grenade, and then once it lands, now you toss up a flash as well, and they're gonna be forced out in the open, and you can just get free kills. Even on stairs, top side, all of this is exposed, except for this area, it's not gonna be flashed, so be careful for this. And yeah, if you need a knife for sight, you just toss one there, or you toss it up here. This is basically it. And if you want a flash for A main, you just hug this wall and you aim somewhere above this area, and it's gonna flash into A main. Pretty good pop flash for their teammates if they wanna fight and pick. If you wanna do a deeper one, you just go towards the wall here and you do this one, but it's a little easier to dodge for the enemies, but it's a little deeper as well. So starting on attack, I'm gonna start off here because I need the barrier at the beginning of the round. You basically land this part of the knife in the tower up here, so that's basically the lineup for arcade. The round starts, you toss it, and you can already start contacting towards this. You might bait a push or a rotation with that knife, so that's basically the goal of it. Or if you just want to lurk as KO, which is not really recommended because your teammates won't like you very much. But that's basically the idea behind the knife, that you maybe force a push or a rotation and you get a free kill or a free 5v2 on site. So that's the idea behind that knife. The other I have for arcade is from this corner right here. You again look at this point of the knife, you put it on top of that building, and it's gonna land on arcade. This is basically my standard if you take arcade. If you combine it with bridge utility, it's gonna be super easy for you, because you basically get the entire box, you get half of the tower, so arcade is basically free for the taking after that. Especially with bridge utility, stuns, flashes, and your teammates sorry dying, and your teammates doing the rest of the work. So the other knife lineup I have for the ace side, from this side, is basically from here. You just aim this line into these two edges from the corner up here, and this is gonna land straight on site. It's basically the entire A side. Yeah, that's all I use. I don't really have any fancy lineups for this side, but that's basically it. So moving on to the other side, I have some interesting ones though. You can start up here, point this line exactly in this corner right here. This is if you want to be close with your teammates. You just toss it, you wait for it together, and then you push on it. Basically gets the entire aim in. Or if you want to play from further back and maybe watch for a big push as well, you can go into the corner here and line this edge of the HUD on the antenna, and that's A main as well. So these are the two knives for A main. You can also do it pretty simple. You just run into here and throw it here, which is pretty effective as well, but you gotta be careful so that you don't get stunned, seized, naded, anything in between, or pushed on even. So yeah, This one is a little riskier and a little faster, but this one's gonna be pretty good. If you also notice that the enemy breach, for example, plays in the tower a lot, you can also just toss a knife here. You don't need a special lineup for that. It's just gonna disrupt their defense a lot because they won't know what to do without breach utility on A main. So that's pretty useful as well. That basically concludes it for A main. You can also go into the same corner here and you can toss it towards A main and A side. I just take this line of the HUD and put it in the corner here between the two steels, or however you call it. And this one's gonna land somewhere on top of this to get basically half of the site, almost the entirety of it, and also behind the box here. So it's a bit deeper, but it's not as deep. So for example, if you have a neon breach taking A main fast, you can just do a deeper knife, and the people that are gonna be falling back are gonna get suppressed by it. So it's also a pretty good combo, depends on which agents you have in your team. Moving on towards B main. The easiest knife you can do is just throw it here at the beginning of the round. It gets the entire B main almost, and basically canteen area. So you might get like a Cypher suppressed or something like that, and maybe get some free traps. But if you want just an execute knife, you just go into the corner here. You line it up. Basically this line goes to the edge of the building. You just toss it, and it's gonna land on top of this thing right here. Get the entire site, most of the tower as well. And yeah. The way I do this execute normally is at the beginning of the round, I do this knife, then I just hold basically W into this corner, and I do this grenade as well. So basically aim a little under the leaf, and it's gonna land on dice. It lands almost simultaneously, and the guy here is basically forced to either pick you or to get like too much damage from the grenade and die. So what you can also do to combine it is throw this flash. Or you can just call to your teammates you're flashing sight, they have to dodge it and toss a flash like that. So basically from B main, you do the same here, it's gonna get to sight. It's basically a perfect pop flash for anyone here, so they're either suppressed, naded or flashed, and it basically gives you a free execute if you're going super fast. So, this concludes it for my KO Fracture guide. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you learned something new. There's obviously a lot of things that I did not put into a guide that are basically situational, that only happen in the middle of the game, that you just wing and you just do. So if you want to learn a lot more from me, and a lot more things that I use, you should check out my Twitch channel. I stream there basically every day, 10 CET, 8+ hours, mostly every day. So yeah, thank you for hanging with me till the end. If you enjoyed the content, would really appreciate the subscribe, maybe like, drop a comment if you have any more questions, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Bye bye.